We're back. Hello, beekeepers, and I want to be a beekeeper. So, this little video is going to be about installing a nucleus colony. Um, we had one on packages, so this was going to be installing a nucleus colony. So, you got your nucleus colony coming. Um, how you got it, there's many ways of getting it, but we're just going to talk about, we're going to put it in our box and things I would do. So basically, you're going to get 5 frames of bees. 2 of them frames are going to be food, pollen, nectar, honey, and then 3 of them are going to be brood and a queen. This is pretty much how they'll come, and you're going to put them in your hive, and then might want to inspect them, make sure you got a queen, make sure everything's okay. If you bought them and you bought a marked queen, I suggest you do that. Um, she's going to be marked with blue for this year. Blue is a little harder to see, so we mark our queens for people with high vis colors because they really don't care if it's marked the color of the year. But get you a paint marker. It can be watercolor, but at least something permanent, even though it's not going to be permanent. And since you bought these, they may or may not be the newest frames. Let's say that. So I would take your blue pen for the year. Anytime we do something, we put a blue dot on it or something, and just put an N. It's already blue, so you know what year it is. And that way you know them 5 were your original 5 frames that you got when you bought your nuke and the year that they were put in here. Um, so now you've done this, everything's fine. Don't just throw a bunch of frames in here, all right? All we want to do is give them a minute and put a frame on each side of them. We don't want to give them all this room right just yet. They just went through, who knows how far they traveled, who you bought them from, I don't know. If you bought them from your buddy, then that's probably a good thing. You probably heard me talk about the following board. Hey, same thing, right? Let's just give them 2 frames, following board, and just give them a week, right? Same thing, feed them with something. They already are going to grow. They don't have to get their act together. They are a hive. They, unlike a package where it's just a bunch of bees in a box with a queen that not even their queen, there's no genetic knowledge and there's no generational knowledge there whatsoever. With a nuke, there's enough bees in here that at least you have generational knowledge and some genetic, but the queen may or may not be the queen from that nuke. So since we don't know that, we're just going to go with they just gave that nuke a queen. Maybe they split it earlier and that is their queen. That would be the best for you. But so we marked our things with an N so we know what frames. We're going to add 2 more. We're going to put our following board on here. We're going to give them small pieces of pollen patty, not that whole pound, like a strip. Even though it's probably into May sometime by the time you get this, and things are happening. Your nuke has foragers. It is a hive. It's just a small one, but it still is a hive. They're going to orientate, figure out where they're at, and they're just going to start going and collect. But a little tasty treats. Hey, man, they're girls. They like treats. Hook them up. And since it's small and they haven't really had a lot of hatching, but your hatching is happening. So you're going to have more bees, more bees, more bees every day. I still would feed them. You know, you could, like I said in the previous, you know, you could cut a piece of plywood for this. It's just for the moment in time. Or if you have a wooden inner cover, you can go ahead and put a mason jar on there with some sugar and water in it. The sort of little rules are 1-to-1. I don't know how true that is. We use bucket feeders. If you've seen our videos, this is our go-to. Boom. It's got ProSweet in it. If you live anywhere around a man lake, you can get it there. And give them a moment in time, you know, whatever, a week, or, you know, get out there in 5 days. And then get in there and see on these outside frames if they're pulling comb. They are. And if they've got comb pulled on both sides, go ahead and pull this on out, center up your things. Their forward motion at this time in their new home. That's all we were trying to do, is make them feel comfortable and tight like a baby, right? Wrapped up. Same with these girls. And now they're comfortable. You're seeing big orientation flights out the front as the bees are hatching. Mama's laying eggs. They already pulled these new frames you gave them. Give them the rest. And we kind of don't want to stop feeding them, because if it rains for 2 days, then they're not bringing nothing in. You want them to have something. You want them to pull comb. Your whole goal is to get 2 deep boxes full of bees and full of pulled comb. You know, pulled comb. This is what they all want to look like. Not necessarily this dark, because this was a brood frame. The darkness is from what's on their little feet when they come home, right? The same with the frames. They get dark from whatever they're bringing home, so all the contaminants. So this is another reason why you marked it with blue. You know how old that thing is. So, you know, like this one is green. This is a last year frame. So it's going to get a blue on it. So I know how old it is when I look at it. Just dots. I don't need to write numbers. We already have a color code. So next thing you know, now all of a sudden, man, this box is full of bees, and they're pulling all the way out to these outside frames. It's time to get your second box on. So how we're going to do that is, when we take our cover off, you know, I missed one little thing. So when you're feeding them with a jar or a bucket, your second box is covering that up so you can put your lid on it, so nobody's gonna get all over that and the water will run off. So kind of missed that one, sorry. But here we go. Now we're gonna pull that off. I'm not gonna do this right. We're going to take our empty off, right? Set it down here on the ground, on top of your cover. I don't know if you can see that. Not directly in it, but up on it a little bit. And then you're going to go ahead and pull these outside comb that they've been working on and put them in here, bees and all. So, you know, you're going to be cool with it. This is another thing you need to learn being a beekeeper. This is like the game operation, right? Where you want to get this out of there without doing this. So practice that. So now we've pulled these outside frames and we put them down. Them are the frames they're working. And then we want to open this up. And these 2 frames right here, I'm going to pull these middle brood frames out. Bees and all, man. And I'm going to put it right down in this box. And then put these frames against it. They probably have comb on it, but if they're full of honey, then just push them on out and put some brand new frames here. Now we're going to push all these frames together and put new frames down here. There'll be a couple more because I don't have enough frames. And then go ahead and put this one up on top. Go ahead and put the new frames in before you move it. What you don't want to do is move it and the frames fall out and your bees are all on the ground, and that's a mess. So now you've got your brood on top of your brood, and you've got a lot of bees happening in here. And then with the new frames and the same thing, you know, your feeder. At this point, you need another box, but somebody's handy with some plywood and can just make a box. It doesn't have to be a real brood box, but it can be because you're going to need it anyway, right? Coming up, you can't have too many boxes. And then again, that box, your feeding, your lid, and pick a day. Whatever day works for you, and come and check your bees on that day, you know. I think you should be in it a minimum of 10 days. More than that, if possible. People say you should be in your hive, but I think a new beekeeper should. Don't be totally bummed out if they don't make it. But you should see super growth. They really should grow. If for some reason they're just not growing, something's wrong. You need a new queen. And don't feel like, oh man, you know, I don't want to lose my queen. It's just another bee. And if she ain't doing her job, then off with her head, right? I don't want to sound cruel, but if you got to have a fresh queen, you got to have a fresh queen. So requeening, that's a whole nother deal. This thing should be full before you go into winter. And there's no reason it shouldn't be. So, hey, that's install a nucleus colony. I hope this helps. Any questions, man, just put them on there. And I know there's all kinds of ways to do this. This is how I would do it. Thanks.